All right, we are here at the tiny worm bin, and it has been 8 days since we fed this last, and you'll notice that I put newspaper on top, something I haven't been doing in here. And it is dry, but it's kind of moist dry, it's not crispy. And the top actually feels moister than it did previously. So that's good. We're just gonna kind of look in here, and certainly on the top you see more cardboard embedding, but then as we go in here, you're seeing a lot of castings, which is great. And the whole system here is 102 days. And I believe this is gonna be the 13th feeding. I think it's either the 12th or 13th. But let's start digging in here. I do remember that I didn't think there was a whole lot of food put in here last time compared to what I wanted, and there's a worm right there. But there's another one right here. But it looks like they are up on the coffee grounds. So they're using that as food source right there. And you know, when I pull some worms up, we're not gonna see a whole lot of worms because this system was only started with about 100. Oh, this is some moldy coffee that I'll just kind of break up for them. It was only started with 50 to 100 worms, so there's just not gonna be a whole lot of worms in here. Now I've found some cocoons and they are reproducing, but you know, just in 102 days, you're not gonna go from 50 to 100 worms to like 1,000. There's a good guy right there. So this is feeling more dry than I expected. It's not dry, it's just a little bit more dry. Another worm. They definitely are looking fatter than they did when we first started this. And I'm able to see them more. So there's probably more in here than previously. Now this feels moist. But also B, the ones that were in here are getting fatter, which is good. So they're reproducing and getting fatter. Definitely seeing, there's probably more than 100 in here now that I'm looking. I suppose I could take it out and sift it and count them, but that's really disturbing to them. But there's no pooling of liquid in here, which is good. There's some little worms right there. I don't know if you can see them. There's one by my thumb, but that's a good sign. That means that you've got multiple generations, and I think it's typically a worm, a red wiggler anyway, 2 months to get maturity, and then has the cocoons, and then it may be another month to 2 months before, you know, those worms hatch and then they're adults. So we're a little over 3 months, so we're getting to that point where we could have another generation starting to mature. So we are gonna just air this out. Now let me know if you've done a tiny worm bin before. Something this small. Again, you can see right there how small this tiny worm bin is. I know Peggy Hamblin over at Garden What You Got just started a tiny worm bin, and I'm excited to see how her worm bin goes. It looks like a very similar sized bin. She drilled much smaller holes than these. You don't need as big a holes as these for ventilation, but that should be fun to see on her channel, her bin progress. So check her out. I'll put her channel in the description. But I think we're good here. I'm going to make the little hole and we'll put the food in. And I may, after we're done with the video, add a little bit of water for moisture in here, because it feels moist, but it's a little bit drier than I would like it. So of course we're gonna add some more bedding, because this bin is nowhere near maturity or to the point where we're pulling out castings. So more bedding, and then we're gonna give them a good amount of food here, relatively speaking. This is some potato shreds, sweet potato shreds. And then we're just gonna give them a lot of the good stuff that they like, which is strawberry tops, mostly strawberry tops. So I'll just keep, I have to kind of pick through it to make sure I get the good stuff for them. So I apologize, it's taking a little bit longer. We'll add some blueberries in here too. But I'm really impressed with this bin. I had low expectations for what it could do and whether or not 100 to 50 worms was gonna, you know, happen. And I started this in a vermicomposting class, and when they gave me only one handful, I was like, oh boy, this is not gonna work, but we're doing all right. Here's some grapes, I believe. But that is this is probably the biggest feeding I've given to this bin. So we will see how that does. And I'm gonna add some coffee, and since that other coffee was kind of clumping, I'm not gonna put as much because they obviously have a bunch in there. So we'll just do a little bit of coffee. And we'll do our grit. And grit is just pulverized eggshells. It helps their digestion because they have gizzards that help them kind of digest their food there. So there's our feeding. I think I've remembered everything. And we'll just cover it back up. And we will cover it up with newspaper also. But that will about do it. I'm going to add some water after this is done. And that will be it. Now, I didn't dig in this at all in between those 8 days. So what you saw is what you got. First time for both of us. So that's the feeding. I hope everybody is doing well with their worm bins and is enjoying vermicomposting. I sure am. So take care and have a great day.